So good morning and welcome to the workshop for AI Verify Foundation. My name is Harish Pillai. I'm leading the foundation and it's a brand new open source software foundation in Singapore, as you probably are aware. It is currently funded by a funding grant from IMDA for the next 3 years or so. So the objective of AI Verify Foundation is to ensure that we have, as a baseline, testing tools that are able to verify whether the particular AI solution is fair, is unbiased. There's about 11 different criteria. And the tools were built by folks in IMDA's team. So they are the ones who did the initial code drop. And so now we have the material online. It's all on a GitHub. From my point of view, it's very important that it has to be open source. And it is on an Apache license. And that to me is also a very important aspect to this whole thing, because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that this tool is usable, expandable. You can plug in, plug out stuff, as in any true open source project. Just in the Singapore context, it's a global thing. So we have many things that we're going to be covering today. This morning is getting to a high-level view. And in the afternoon, Thomas and team will be going through the details with a hands-on workshop. So how do we keep in touch? So I have set up this matrix server for the purposes of AI Verify Foundation. So please connect to this AI Verify Foundation on Matrix. So we have, right now there are 3 channels on that. And so please go ahead and sign up and we can get the conversation going, because it's very important for us to continue the engagement post this event. So this is from an external engagement perspective as an open source project. This is going to be our primary mode of communication. And whatever discussions you want to have. There are many things that we want to do. So please help us move this needle forward. Okay, so with that, I would like to invite Thomas up here. He is the product manager for AI Verify, the tools. He is from IMDA, so he is my collaborator on the other side of the equation.
Thank you very much, Harish. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us bright and early on this Friday morning. I will give a very quick introduction of what is AI Verify before the team then starts to take through what the specific UI looks like, how do you actually get a project started, and they will do all that good stuff. AI Verify is a next milestone in the journey that IMDA has taken in the space of AI governance. So from 2019, we have actually put out something called the Model AI Governance Framework. That was the first version. And then we put out a compendium of case studies, a compendium of checklist. And then come last year, we actually put out AI Verify. So AI Verify works for traditional AI. It is meant to be a practical tool that implements both frameworks as well as technical tests to help companies check whether their AI is fair, explainable, and robust. So with that, coming forward to today, we know that a lot of discussions have been around what about Gen AI, because AI Verify can only deal with the traditional or classical school of AI. In the generative AI space, we have put out a few documents. You can see them on the right. We'll be happy to share them later, maybe over lunch as well. We have colleagues from the policy teams here. So if you have questions specifically around the model governance framework, we have the people to answer the questions. So that is in the Gen AI space. We put out a discussion paper last year. We put out a model governance framework. You can find all of these on the AI Verify Foundation website. Okay, so what is AI Verify? Again, it is a set of 11 principles, right? We start off with transparency, so do consumers understand that your system even has AI? Explainability, which is whether your AI systems can be explained. Repeatability and reproducibility. Is there a way that you have done version control your data, control your model? Safety is around whether your model is going to spew something inappropriate. And also whether or not you have considered the impact of how your model, if you are using, for example, a model to check whether or not something for example, in medicine, in law, is there certain kind of safeguards in place. Security, I think that's fairly straightforward. Robustness, is your model robust? Can it easily be compromised? Can it easily, because of input data space changes, change the output that is, very quickly? For instance, in a facial recognition model, if there's a bit of rain, if there's a bit of blur, does your facial recognition model then stop working? Fairness, I think that is also very straightforward. Data governance, also fairly straightforward around whether you have policies in place to take care of the data that's being used to train the model. Accountability, do you have a way to account to your stakeholders? Human agency and oversight. So in the use of AI, is the AI the final, the one that determines everything, or is there a human in the loop, on the loop, that can take care of the decisions and make that human judgment? The last one is inclusive growth, societal and environmental well-being. This is about whether we use AI for public good. So the AI Verify Testing Toolkit is a tool that implements all of these 11 principles, as well as some technical tests. We cannot test everything. Clearly, we cannot test. There is no technical test for whether your AI model is inclusive growth, societal, environmental well-being. So some of these are process checklists. We ask the certain list of questions, and there's a certain process that we walk through them. Okay, so all these mainly tackle the 5 sort of major area of concern: transparency and all the things you see the green bars on the left. It consists of about 90 process checks. So there's a set of 90 sort of questions that test all these 11 principles. And I mentioned that there are some technical tests for 3 principles: fairness, explainability, and robustness. It's intended to be applied in the context of a single AI system. So this actually tests one single model, one single application, not the entire multitude of systems. We do not define ethical standards. So this is very important to highlight. AI Verify doesn't tell you you pass or you fail. It's not like a traffic light system. Green means good to go, red cannot. We don't do that. It's actually, it will produce scores that the company then has to make a judgment on whether or not there is a risk that you are willing to undertake, whether it's okay for that particular use case context, for instance. This entire framework is not just created in isolation in IMDA. We actually have aligned this with many of the global frameworks that have been going out there, including OECD, WEF, and I think in late last year, we also did it with the US NIST risk management framework. Okay, so why did we actually start doing this whole AI Verify Toolkit? So we started because of a couple of reasons. One, we found that there was a lack of complete end-to-end frameworks that took care of process, technical tests companies usually require in order to test their AI. So we put out and said that, hey, maybe there's a way for us to give a complete checklist around all of these principles. The second is that running tests actually in the past require expert know-how, right? Because you actually need to, a lot of tools came out from research. You actually needed to know how to install. Each of them had some different quirks. So we said that, can we put them all easily into a single tool that you can install, do everything in one UI? And lastly, there was no standard report. And we said that, hey, maybe there is some value in creating a standard report that different companies with different AI models can all follow. I mentioned this, we have a process checklist, we have technical tests, and that all comes back into a report. So there are just 3 things. One is that it's black box testing. It's not white box. We assume the model, we only operate at the inference layer. The next is management reporting. The whole intent of the report is not to help developers build better only. The intent of the report is that it helps report to stakeholders around what this AI system is about, what the capabilities are. And lastly, I think Harish also alluded to this, there is an extensible architecture for plugins. So this afternoon's workshop will be about how the community can also build and contribute plugins. So with that, that's in a nutshell, the explanation of AI Verify. I'll now hand over to Kimi. Kimi is one of the product managers as well who has been working on this product. She'll walk through how to use the toolkit.
Hi everybody. I'm one of the other product managers for AI Verify. So today, the AI Verify Toolkit is available as a web application to be hosted in each company's own environment. So we chose to do it on-prem rather than a hosted approach because we realized that most companies are apprehensive about uploading their AI models and data sets onto a government-hosted platform. So currently, there are 2 ways to deploy AI Verify. First, you can choose to deploy a Docker image. The second way would be to build the application from source code. So this is a screenshot of our GitHub site. And from our GitHub, you'll be able to access the setup instructions, the user guide, and also download any latest releases that we have. So I hope everyone here today had the chance to install the toolkit. Nevertheless, even if you are unable to get the toolkit on your machines right now, please sit through this live walkthrough with me, and it should give you a good idea of how you can use AI Verify for your AI testing needs. So this is the landing page of AI Verify Toolkit, where you'll be able to access the key functionalities of the tool. So firstly, you can create projects to test AI models. You can manage your testing data sets and connections to the AI models that you want to test. You can also manage plugins that extends the toolkit's testing capabilities. And lastly, you can also manage report templates, which you can create to suit your specific use cases. So from this page, you will also be able to see the overview of the projects that you have created to test each AI model. So here I have two projects that I have previously created. The first one is a project to test the AI model used by a bank to predict whether a loan applicant will default on a loan, and is essentially a credit risk model. And the second one you see here is a project used to test a model used by a company to predict whether a job applicant is suitable for a job or not based on data that is extracted from their resume. So these are actually real-life use cases that companies and government agencies have tested on using AI Verify. And what we have here are actually just mock AI models and data sets for demo purposes. So for today's demo, I will be the model owner of an AI model that predicts whether loan applicants will default on the loan that they are applying for, basically a credit risk model. So to start, I can create a new project. Yeah, then I will give it a project name to identify it by. So I will just call it Test My Credit Risk Model. And give it some description. So I want to test whether my model is fair towards all gender groups. And whether it aligns with the AI Verify framework overall. Yeah, so here you can also choose to use the project name as the report title. Yeah, and fill in your company name. So next, I can choose to use a report template for this project. So AI Verify's workflow allows model owners like me to start with the end goal in mind. So what do I want to get out of this testing process? So as the owner of this credit risk model, I want to know if my model is fair, explainable, and aligned with the principles in the AI governance framework. So here I will choose to use one of the report templates that comes with the AI Verify toolkit itself. So since the credit risk model that I'm testing today is a classification model, I will use the report template for classification. So we have one for classification and one for regression models. Yeah. So what we see here is the canvas page. And if in the previous screen I didn't select any report template, and I choose to start with a blank canvas, we will be seeing a blank canvas instead. So because, however, we selected a report template, we now have a canvas that is already populated with all of the report components that is needed to run your model through a common set of tests to produce an AI Verify summary report. So here we refer to these report components as report widgets. And as shared previously by Thomas, in AI Verify, we require you to run technical tests for three principles: fairness, robustness, and explainability. So the shared toolbox here actually is an explainability test. So if I'm an expert in AI testing and would like to further customize this report, I can choose from a buffet line of other testing algorithms you see on the left panel over here. So by dragging in their report components, I can customize the report to be generated. So while I adjust the layout and customize the look and feel of the report, I'm also actually defining the information to be included in the report, and AI Verify will actually automatically add it to the test that needs to be run. So here I have dragged in the test called accumulated local effect. It's actually an explainability test, and AI Verify has added this ALE test into the test to run. So once I'm happy with the report, I can then proceed to the next step. So in order to run the technical test, we need to configure the data sets we want to use and the connection to the model that I want to test. So for the testing data set here, I will be using this credit data set that I have previously uploaded. So this data set actually contains information about the loan applicant, such as their age, their gender, their income, and the amount of loan that they are applying for. And all these features will be used by the model to predict whether they will default on the loan or not. So AI Verify supports a range of data, including pandas, which is most commonly used by AI scientists. So we validate the data in the background to ensure that the data is in the correct format. So if you are following along, you can choose to use this dataset called sample BC credit data, and it can be found under the AI Verify examples data folder at the directory where you downloaded the toolkit. So next, I will need to select the ground truth dataset. So ground truth here refers to the outcomes that actually happen. And in our use case, it will be whether the loan applicant actually defaulted on the loan or not. So here I will choose to use the same dataset, as the ground truth is captured in the column called default. And next, I will need to connect AI Verify to the model that I want to test today. So AI Verify supports a wide variety of model deployments, including both local on-premise, so you can upload the AI model file or the pipeline folder, and also a cloud environment. So if your model is hosted in a server elsewhere, you can configure the API connections that will allow AI Verify to ping your model for prediction results. So this AI Verify tool is designed for cases where you may not actually own the model, but you can still test the model via the API connection. So for today's demo, I will be using a model that I have previously uploaded. This file is also available in the example datasets that you can find in the AI Verify examples folder in our GitHub. So once done, I can then choose to adjust some of the test parameters that will determine the scale and scope of the test. So for SHAP, which is a test for explainability, I will need to select the background dataset. The background dataset is a dataset that should be representative of your dataset's population. So if my testing dataset is representative of the population, I can choose to use the same dataset as well. Next, I will need to specify the size of the background dataset and size of the testing dataset that I want to do random sampling on. So this will actually determine how long it takes to run the SHAP test. So if you want to run it on a larger sample size, it will take longer to run. So for robustness, there are a few test arguments, but these are only relevant for image models, so I wouldn't need to fill them in. And lastly, for fairness, I can pick the features whose fairness I'm concerned about. And in this credit risk model use case, I would like to check whether my model is fair across all gender groups. So I will choose gender as my sensitive feature. So AI Verify actually allows you to define more than one sensitive feature. And you can do that by clicking on the plus button over here and defining the name of the column. So these two fields here are actually only needed for image models, so it's not relevant for our use case today. Okay, so beyond the technical tests, AI Verify also gives organizations a structured way to record the controls they have for governance through our process checklist. So these process checklists are captured across all 11 principles in the AI Verify governance framework. And as Thomas previously mentioned, our policy team has done mapping exercises such that the AI Verify framework is now aligned with other global AI governance guidelines, such as the OECD, WEF, and the US NIST AI Risk Management Framework. And these checks are essentially methods for documenting evidence. And in this case of security, it is about whether I have the appropriate security controls, trainings, and risk assessments in place. So what I have to do here is actually just to click yes, no, not applicable, and provide some elaboration for each of the process checks. And because it is quite a number of questions, we also have a summary over here to tell you how many of the checks you have completed. So currently, we have a total of 91 process checks spanning across the 11 principles, and it is a lot, so I wouldn't be going through all of them in today's demo. So lastly, for classification models, we also have a cool feature called the fairness tree. So in fairness, there exists many different ways to calculate fairness, and it is impossible to optimize all the metrics that you can use to calculate fairness. So what we have heard from companies is that they don't really know which fairness metric they want to optimize for and which they should prioritize. So to help these companies out, we have made available this fairness decision tree, which is an adaptation of a well-established method by CMU known as the Equitas fairness tree. So here, we can fill in some information about our use case. So as I have previously filled in, our sensitive feature here is gender. And the resource that we want to allocate here would be the loan. And the qualified group that should receive the loan would be the qualified loan applicants. And the unqualified group would be the unqualified loan applicants. With this information, the decision tree will provide users with a guided workflow with contextualized questions. So you can see here, they have populated the tree with whatever information I have entered just now. So it has gender, and it is about whether qualified applicants receiving a loan or not. So this is actually a guided workflow that will help users to discover the fairness metric that is the most relevant to their use case. So by answering some of these questions, I have identified false omission rate parity as the metric that is the most relevant to my use case today. And this metric will be placed in priority and highlighted in the summary report that will be generated at the end of this test. So once I have completed all of these process checklists and the fairness tree, I can then proceed to generate the report. But for today's demo, I have already pre-generated a report. So as the model owner, now I can use AI Verify to easily generate a report that is fit for purpose and prime for release to my stakeholders if needed. So to recap, the model that we are testing today is a credit risk model. And this report will provide a summary of the process check responses, and also together with some of the recommendations based on the answers that you provide for the process checklist. And also, if I want to zoom into fairness of my model, I can take a look at the technical results for the fairness test. So earlier, using the fairness tree, I've identified false omission rate parity as the metric that is the most relevant to my use case. Therefore, the results for false omission rate is highlighted in the summary report here. However, the results for the other 9 fairness metrics will also be available in the annex of the report in the following pages. So if we look at the chart here, as we are tackling algorithmic fairness, we are concerned if the error rates are consistent across the selected sensitive feature. So in our use case, the sensitive feature is gender, and the blue bar here actually refers to male, and the orange one refers to female. So we want to see whether the error rates are consistent across the two groups. So in this chart, if the bars are completely equal, then you would say that the model is algorithmic fair to reality. But if the bars have a sizable disparity, then you might want to reevaluate your data or the model that you are using. So next, we can also look at the technical test results for explainability. So this chart actually shows the results for global explainability using this very popular algorithm called SHAP. So the results for SHAP will show the top 20 features and their importance in contributing to the final prediction of the model. So this chart will allow me to intuitively see if the model behavior makes sense. So here we can see that loan amount and income has a significantly longer bar than the rest of the features. And this is because SHAP found that only these 2 features were important in affecting the model prediction. So in predicting if a loan applicant will default on the loan amount and income actually make sense. However, we can also see that the model does not consider the prior counts of defaults that this loan applicant has. So if this is unexpected behavior for my model, I should relook into it. So the whole idea of AI Verify is to enable model owners to assess whether the model is aligned with the perceived logic and behavior of the model. So these are some of the things that I wanted to highlight about the report. So now that we have seen the default AI Verify report, we know that it is just a generic AI testing report that is not designed to cater for any specific use case. So if I'm familiar with AI testing, I can also use AI Verify to curate my own report. So let's see how that can be done here. Firstly, I can create a new project. And let's say I have an image model and I want to design a report that will contain all the tests that will run tests for image models. Then this time, let's start with a blank canvas instead of using a template. And I'll be led to the same canvas page, but this time it will be a blank canvas for me to drag and drop in all these widgets to add to the report. So besides widgets to display test results, we also have simple decorator widgets that will allow you to further customize your report. So for example, I can use one of the header widgets from AI Verify stock decorators and drag it into the report. So here I can even choose to use some of the global variables that I have previously defined, such as the name of the project and also the project name if I have previously defined. So here I can just type report title. So global variables are a way that you can add repetitive features like your company name to your report. So you can also add new global variables here in the panel on the right and click add, and you can sub in these values in each of these header widgets using the variable over here. So I can also use some of these widget properties to customize the aesthetics of the report components, such as aligning center and changing the color of the text. So now let's drag in some widgets that will display the image testing results for my image models. So here I'm dragging in a line chart that will show the results for this test called blur corruption. So after I drag in this widget, you can see that under test to run, we have this new test called blur corruptions. And later on in the workflow, AI Verify will actually prompt you for the test arguments needed for this test. So while designing the report, you might also have concerns on how to manage if the contents of a widget exceeds the page. So fret not, as we have designed these widgets. So some widgets that tend to overflow are designed with this dynamic height property. So just to give you an idea of how it looks like, here I'm dragging in a process checklist where the length of the widget will actually be determined by the length of the user response. So you can see here that this widget has this dynamic height property. And if the content of this widget is longer than the page height, the widget will be printed across multiple pages in the report, and it wouldn't cut off text like what you are seeing here, which is just a preview. So once I'm happy with the report that I have designed, I can click on the download button over here to save it as a template. So I want to call this template test image model template. And I can type in some description and also enter my name. So once the template is saved, you'll be able to edit it and access it via the report template manager. So you can see the template that I've just created has appeared here under our project template managers called test image model template. So to share this template with other users, I can click on this download button and export it as a plugin, where you can then share it as a zip file with other users of AI Verify. Okay, so lastly, I would like to talk about the extensibility of the AI Verify toolkit. So this is our plugin manager. And behind the scenes, you can see the integrative elements of AI Verify coming in, where organizations can actually import and use other algorithms or templates via installing new plugins. So you can add new tests or new representations of data to extend the functionalities of the current AI Verify tool. So as an open source solution, we have all the documentation on how to build and add more plugins openly available on GitHub. And this is also what we will be covering in today afternoon session, which is the plugin developer workshop. AI Verify was open source to enable community to use and contribute to the toolkit. So the diagram you see here is actually just a teaser of our extensible architecture. So the purple blocks that you see over here is the core AI Verify toolkit itself. So the base engine it simply consists of two parts: the workflow engine, which supports the workflows for process checks and custom report templates, and also the test engine that actually runs all these technical tests. So on top of this core engine, AI Verify comes with the base report that we have used just now, which is the AI Verify summary report, and also the core testing algorithms needed to run the tests to produce the results that will be displayed in the report. So there are actually three ways that you can extend the capabilities of AI Verify. So firstly, you can develop verticals on top of AI Verify. So verticals are in the form of use case plugins, such as, so for example, if you are from the finance sector, you can build a plugin that is specific to the finance sector and consists of all the reporting components that you would like to see for example, for banks. And the second way that you can contribute to the AI Verify would be to enhance the actual code base itself. So to improve the workflow engine, to improve the test engine itself, the usability of it, and the core functionalities of the test engine and workflow engine. And lastly, if you're an AI testing expert and you have some testing algorithms that you would like to see in AI Verify that we currently do not have, you can take these open source algorithms or even your own proprietary algorithms and build it as an algorithm plugin that can be used together inside AI Verify. So all of these plugins can be built using our AI Verify developer tools, which is available as a separate repo on our GitHub. So in today's afternoon session, we will also be going through how to build the plugins. So basically how to design this plugin report and also how to build a mock testing algorithm at the bottom layer over here. So just wanted to share a bit more about AI Verify plugins. So there are a few types of AI Verify plugins. Firstly, they can be display components. So these are what we call widgets that you have seen just now, the drag and drop components. So these are just custom graph modules or text just to display the test results or display the user input that is captured. And we also have another type of plugins or plugin component called workflow components. So this will be the input blocks that you have seen just now, such as the process checklist and also the fairness decision tree. And another type of plugins would, of course, be the testing algorithms itself. So it will be things like your fairness test, your explainability test. So if you have new algorithms, new ways to test for robustness, you can build it as a testing algorithm plugin. And lastly, we have also gone through how to create a custom report template. So custom report templates that are exported in a zip file are also a type of AI Verify plugin. So AI Verify plugins, they can be shared with other users in the form of a zip file. So if you actually build your own plugin, you can contribute back to our AI Verify repository on GitHub. Or if it's proprietary to your organization, you can keep it within your organization and share it within the users. Or you can also choose to host these AI Verify plugins within your own GitHub repository as well. And we will always be happy to do a shout out to you. So just to share, on our GitHub, we have a few features that will allow for collaboration within the community. So there's a discussion tab where you can ask questions or start discussions. And under issues, you can also request for new features or raise any bugs that you encounter when you are using the AI Verify toolkit. So just wanted to share a bit about the product roadmap overview. So moving forward, AI Verify will be focusing on these 4 areas. So firstly, we will of course be keeping up with alignment with all these international frameworks. So currently we are aligned with OECD, WEF, and the US NIST AI risk management framework. And moving forward, we will be keeping a lookout for the EU AI Act and also similar policies out there. Next, we will also be focusing on testing support. So testing support is the main juice of AI Verify. So it's all the testing algorithms that you have seen. So we want to look at expanding our tests to support more model types, more data types, and just for AI Verify to work readily across different models and different deployment modalities. The next area that we also want to focus on would be the usability of the toolkit itself and the usability of our AI Verify developer tools. So looking at how AI Verify can be made more usable to users, made more user-friendly to users, and how these developer tools can help the research and open source communities to contribute easier to the AI Verify repo. And lastly, the last area of focus will be integration. So in order to make AI Verify available to more organizations, we are looking at integrating with some of the popular ML tooling frameworks, ML tooling platforms out there, so that users of those platforms can easily access AI Verify on those ML tooling platforms. And probably also deploy AI Verify as part of their pipeline. We want you guys to tell us what features you would like to see in AI Verify, and we are of course open to discuss contributions on how your organizations might like to contribute to AI Verify toolkit itself.
I just want to acknowledge the sponsorship from Red Hat of this venue as well as the lunch break afterwards. All right.